The AMA's Premier Series has the best in North America battling to see just who is going to come out on top. Leads are often exchanged 3, 4, even 5 times a lap among the top riders. It's a series where a rider has to be not only a master of the track, but a master at setting up his machine. In AMA Superbike, fractions of a second often mean the difference between winning and losing. This past year, the Superbike Series got underway in Phoenix. The Superbike season opener at Phoenix saw Yamaha's Jamie Hacking jump out to the early lead. A short-lived one, however, as Aussie sensation Anthony Gobert went around the outside.
Fellow Aussie Matt Loudon got in the show by going inside of Gobert to take the lead.
Meanwhile, the defending champion Doug Chandler found himself in a little bit of traffic, while Anthony Gobert was raging out front.
In the meantime, former champion Miguel Duhamel looked to be struggling back in 7th place on his RC45.
It was all Anthony Gobert at the finish, taking the first win of his debut season aboard an AMA Superbike. At the start of the historic Daytona 200, Miguel Duhamel and Scott Russell raced into the first turn, with Miguel Duhamel coming out in front in the early going. However, coming off the banking for the first time, Russell slid by and took the top spot back. Through the early portion of the race, both Miguel Duhamel and Scott Russell swapped positions time and time again, neither able to get a distinct advantage.
Mike Hill had a strong showing in 4th until lap 6 when he lost the front of his Ducati. Hill's day was done. Disappointment for the fast paparazzi rider. Then on lap 19, coming off the banking onto the back straightaway, Miguel Duhamel got a great drive and took the lead. Way late on the brakes, entering the chicane, he lost the front end. The bike went tumbling. Fortunately, Miguel was okay, but his day was done.
Russell went on to claim a 5th Daytona 200 win. Second place, Doug Chandler finished 7.5 seconds back. And for Scott Russell, a record-setting 5 victories at this most famous racetrack.
Round 3 at Laguna Seca, there was a bit of drama before the race began. Anthony Gobert didn't take a warm-up lap. Once the green flag fell, it was Miguel Duhamel in the lead.
Gobert fought his way through the pack, getting Pascal Picot here for 8th place. But Jimmy Moore overshot the corkscrew, tumbling down the hill with his bike. He was uninjured but would not continue.
Close call for Miguel Duhamel as his RC45 loses the rear end. That is similar to the accident in 1996 where he crashed in the same turn. This mistake allowed Doug Chandler to close in for the lead.
But Duhamel got a better run in traffic on the last lap and came home with the win. The first for Honda at Laguna since 1988 when Bubba Schobert did the honors. At Willow Springs, strong performances had both Aussies lined up on the front row. After the start, though, it was Miguel Duhamel between Gobert and Loudon.
Matt Loudon then got a good run, and he took the lead coming out of turn 9, but Anthony Gobert came right back at him a handful of laps later.
But Miguel Duhamel resurfaced to do battle with Anthony Gobert, and these two would trade the lead back and forth several times throughout the race at Willow Springs.
Anthony Gobert was about not to give up, and he got a good drive coming at 89, but that wasn't enough for Miguel. Miguel got a drive and got by Anthony to take the victory. When the Superbikes launched at Sears Point, it was Doug Chandler who emerged in the lead. Meanwhile, the two Aussies were back at it as usual, scrapping for 3rd place early on, but Matt Loudon coming out the winner.
Then Ben Bostrom, seeing an opening on the fading Anthony Gobert, tried inside, but he slid the rear end around, saved it. Dirt track experience paid off. On lap 9, Gobert was in the pits describing a misfire to the Vance & Hines Ducati crew.
Just after halfway, lap 14, Miguel Duhamel made his move, passing Chandler for the lead.
And Miguel Duhamel went on to take the checkered flag jubilant, having earned 3 victories in a row. Race 1 of the historic doubleheader at Road Atlanta saw Miguel Duhamel with the early lead and defending champion Doug Chandler right in his wheel tracks. But then Ben Bostrom assumed the front position and Anthony Gobert came up alongside.
With less than 10 laps to go, Ben Bostrom mounted another attack on Gobert. But the Aussie was tough under braking coming down the hill.
And this would be the pattern all afternoon, with Gobert getting by on the brakes in the new turn 9-10 area at Road Atlanta. But Ben Bostrom hanging tough, and Miguel Duhamel never out of the picture either. And then it was Duhamel trying to hold off Gobert, but once again, the Australian, late on the brakes, took the lead.
Coming down the hill for the final time, Miguel gets a run on Anthony, comes under him. And it looks like he beats him across the finish line. Then Ben Bostrom gets off in the grass, wrecks, and hurts his wrist.
After the first 6 rounds, the standings were tight with just 6 points separating the top 3 riders. It was hard to say which way things would go, and it looked as if Miguel Duhamel would just keep on winning. When we come back, we'll take a look at a major turn of events in the Superbike season.
This month, order in with Comcast Home Theater and enjoy There's Something About Mary, Rush Hour, The Truman Show, and Mafia. Plus, order Comcast digital cable and get digital picture and sound, half-hour movie start times, an on-screen interactive guide, and new release titles always in stock. Your first month of Comcast digital cable comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call 875-3333 and order today.
Businesses throughout the ages have faced the need to advertise, to effectively communicate. Armed with a great product or service, successful companies have tried all kinds of creative ways to tell their story, but always they've been limited by available technology. Until now, it's time to rediscover Comcast cable advertising, targeted high-quality communications that deliver the advertising impact you want. Comcast cable advertising. We're the best way to tell your story.
So I'm trying to get here, leave my house, rock slide. Finally get here. I asked the man what's going on. He says it's closed. It's been closed for 32 years. What on earth am I doing even leaving my couch?
Race 2 at Road Atlanta saw Anthony Gobert take the lead at the start. Meanwhile, Miguel Duhamel was glued to the Vance & Hines Ducati rear wheel.
It looked like an instant replay of race number 1 with Duhamel and Gobert going after it. Gobert much better on the brakes, having improved his Ducati even further for the second race.
And that's all Duhamel had as Anthony Gobert broke Duhamel's winning streak at 4. But Brian, there's nothing greater for the riders than to spray the champagne after a victory. At Road America, it was more wheel-to-wheel action. Halfway through the first lap, Anthony Gobert took the top spot away from Ben Bostrom. Then at the end of the first lap, Duhamel took the lead from Gobert.
Once again, 3 red bikes up front, giving the fans their money's worth. But Jimmy Moore, his bike turned into a barbecue, engulfed in flames. Back up front, a battle of horsepower all day. Riders getting 4 and 5 wide on the straightaways. Bostrom assuming the lead once again in turn number 1. Then Gobert came inside, taking the lead back. Jamie Hacking had a great ride, halfway through the race, taking 3rd spot from Miguel Duhamel. On the last lap, Duhamel challenged Gobert into the kink. 2 turns later, Gobert led up the hill and to the finish. It was going to be another drag race a la Willow Springs. Duhamel came up outside, but this time it was Anthony Gobert by the narrowest of margins, taking his 3rd win of the season.
I mean, the list is too long. There's just so many mistakes I made. It's just, that's why I'm really not feeling too good right now. I'm really frustrated with myself.
In practice for the Superbike event at Loudon, New Hampshire, Miguel Duhamel had a huge impact with the retaining wall. The result was a compound fracture to his leg, which ended Duhamel's season. And Freddie, my question to you, I think in the wake of that disappointment at Elkhart, do you think he may have been pushing a little too hard at Loudon?
Well, let's take a look at Miguel's season this year. He had the crash at Daytona where he was battling with Scott Russell. He came back after that and had that string of victories on the California swing of AMA Superbike events. At the event at Elkhart Lake, we just heard how disappointed he was, and he felt he was partly responsible for not winning the race. So I think Miguel is definitely an emotional rider. He gets up after an event, after maybe an incident that he feels responsible for. But if you look at the crash, I think that it was a kind of a freak accident. It just was drizzling, and I think that's what caught him out more than probably pushing too hard.
Meanwhile, the race went on at Loudon, and it was Aaron Yates who emerged victorious. Stick around because the final rounds of the Superbike season are coming up.
The 1998 AMA Year in Racing has been sponsored by Kawasaki Motorcycles. Call 1-800-661-RIDE for the dealer nearest you. And by 989 Studios, the new leader in sports video games.
Attention, all hockey fans and fight fans. Get ready for the hottest action on ice in this brand new video, Knockout Hockey. Witness firsthand as tempers flare and fists fly, where anything can happen and does. It's the kind of non-stop, edge-of-your-seat action that makes ice hockey one of the most exciting and unpredictable spectator sports ever. You'll see all of the red-hot knockout hockey fights, including the ones we can't show you here. Order now and get absolutely free incredible hockey fights and brawls, more bone-crunching hockey action, and embarrassing moments you have to see to believe. You get both action-packed videos for only $19.95. Plus, if you order right now, we'll include this genuine special edition collectible hockey puck absolutely free. Quantities are limited, so order now. To order, call 1-800-295-3399. That's 1-800-295-3399. Or send $19.95 plus $5.95 shipping and handling to the address on your screen.
What do you call home? This? 4 walls and a roof so your poor head doesn't get wet? Not here. This is Speedvision. And our house is built with asphalt, earth, and thunder. Speedvision. We cover every race except for your trip home from work.
When the World Superbike Series stopped in the U.S., the AMA Superbike regulars were ready to stage an all-out attack on the world. Early on, Ben Bostrom moved up from 11th to 4th position, but then a mechanical failure with Doug Chandler's handlebars caused him to lose control of his bike going into the corkscrew. Chandler careened out of control right into the path of Akira Yanagawa. T-boned him. He was knocked off his bike instantly and thrown to the ground.
It was a disaster scene at the top of the corkscrew, and the race was red flagged. Doug Chandler sat in the gravel trap, unable to get to his feet, but when he finally did, the AMA Superbike champ had a noticeable limp as he headed for the safety car.
When the race was restarted, Aaron's slight tangle with Aaron Yates caused a massive pileup right on the front straightaway. All the carnage lay on the ground. A couple riders were hurt.
And for the second time, the race was red flagged and called. Doug Chandler was awarded a 3rd place finish, the highest American. At the start of race 2 of the World Superbike round, the AMA regulars were again looking for strong performances. Superbike star Jamie Whittam was 3rd, but Jamie Hacking was 4th, and Matt Mladen was 5th, although he was fading.
Midway through the race, Ben Bostrom made his way up to 3rd position, putting in a great performance. Then coming off the last turn, Aaron Yates gets up on the curbing, and high sides coming down the front straightaway.
Ben Bostrom brought his RC45 home in 3rd place. The World Superbike round at Laguna Seca took its toll on AMA riders. Vance and Hines Ducati pilot Anthony Gobert was suspended by the AMA after failing a mandatory FIM drug test. Gobert was retested by the AMA a week later, but failed that as well.
Meanwhile, defending AMA Superbike champ Doug Chandler was dealing with a knee injury he suffered in race 1 of the World Superbike race. Mid-Ohio was Aaron Yates who pulled out the early lead on the field. Close to midway through the race, though, Tom Kipp goes inside Ben Bostrom for 2nd place.
A fine run for the Ducati rider, but meanwhile, points leader Doug Chandler was working his way around in 9th position, denying he was injured from his accident at Laguna Seca. Running in 5th and subbing for the injured Miguel Duhamel was Eric Bostrom, his first weekend on a Superbike.
But back up front, it was all Aaron Yates, riding the wheelie, coming down the straightaway toward the finish line for his victory.
In the points, it was Doug Chandler clinging to his lead over Ben Bostrom. The suspended Anthony Gobert was still 3rd, but guaranteed to fall back, along with the injured Miguel Duhamel, who was 4th. At Brainerd International, Jason Pridmore moved up to Superbikes, joining the Vance and Hines Ducati team for the suspended Anthony Gobert and taking the lead early at the start. Jamie Hacking pressured Pridmore, but Pridmore fought him off for the most part.
And then at the end of the front straightaway, Hacking took the lead. With 12 laps to go, though, Ben Bostrom swept into the top spot, but Hacking came right back.
Jason Pridmore pushing a little too hard, running in 3rd spot, wound up in the grass, but got it back on the racetrack, no problem. Meanwhile, Eric Bostrom moved into the lead after brother Ben got held up in traffic.
And on the last lap, Jamie Hacking had a big impact with the tire barrier.
At the finish, it was all Eric Bostrom with his first Superbike win and a stellar young career for this man.
Round 13 at Pikes Peak, it was Ben Bostrom who got the early lead with a good start. The younger brother Eric wasn't going to allow that to stand. He got a good drive coming on the back straightaway and powered by Ben, his teammate. Midway through the race, the battle for third caught up with second place and championship contender Ben Bostrom.
Then both Matt Mladen and Jason Pridmore got around Ben, moving him from second to fourth, taking away valuable championship points. It was not a good time to be losing spots on the racetrack. Championship leader Doug Chandler battled all day just to stay in touch with the lead group, but he was all the way back in sixth.
Then oil was dropped on the track, and that caused 4 riders to go down. The red flag gave Eric Bostrom his second Superbike win in just 3 career starts.
Going into the last race of the season, both Ben Bostrom and Doug Chandler were tied with 323 points apiece. Matt Mladen looked to have third position all but locked up, while the Yamahas of Rich Oliver and Jamie Hacking rounded out the top 5.
Matt Mladen jumped out to an early lead over Jason Pridmore. Championship contender Doug Chandler was in third, while Eric Bostrom was ahead of his brother Ben.
At the start of lap 2, Eric went around Doug Chandler. Then brother and teammate Ben made his move on the defending champion, moving into second spot. Sensing his title hope fading, Chandler passed Eric Bostrom. Then on lap 14, the Muzzy Kawasaki began to smoke. Chandler was in trouble, but nevertheless made a pass, knowing he had to do so, going around Ben Bostrom.
A lap later, though, Ben Bostrom was able to power past Chandler's bike, which was suffering from an oil leak. But Doug Chandler wasn't going to give up, heavy on the brakes going into the chicane. Up front, Matt Mladen came across the line for the win.
It was not to be a 4th championship for Doug Chandler as he cruised home. The day belonged to Ben Bostrom, who with his second place clinched his first AMA Superbike championship. So Ben Bostrom took his first Superbike championship, and already 1999 is shaping up to be another exciting year, one in which you, Nikki Hayden, are going to be deeply involved. Any thoughts about it yet?
I can't wait till March. I think it's going to be a really good year. Honda's got the new CBR4 out, which is seems to be a really good bike, and with the 900, and the whole Honda team seems really committed to winning, and they're totally behind me, so that'll be a really good year.
I can't wait either. Freddie, how about you?
Well, it's going to be great, you know, with new young riders like Nikki, and then in the Superbike class with the Bostrom brothers, Eric and Ben. It's going to give the veterans a run for their money, and that's going to be great for the fans.
Well, we are always looking forward to it, but that's going to just about do it for us here as we have reviewed the year in racing, AMA style, on Speedvision. For Fast Freddie Spencer and Nikki Hayden, I'm Brian Drever. So long, everybody. We'll see you soon.